Hello viewers, Flash Motorsport here and welcome to VRC Touring Cars. Our first race will be at Brands Hatch GP circuit and we are in the Ford Mondeo, or otherwise known by VRC as the Fortix Amando. We have done some qualifying laps, as you can understand, my first time on this, so I was terrible. We do start off in P14 and the car next to me has just had a falling over incident. That's really funny. Oh dear. That's definitely a good way to start a race. I hate to be in their shoes right now. As we've got a couple of minutes before the race starts, I'd like to talk about what you see on my screen at the moment. So at the top right I have a plugin for, or a mod for the map. It's a full map showing our positions on the track and everything else. At the top center of the screen I have a radar system telling me who's around me, and it is very useful. At the bottom of the screen I have the Gran Turismo 7 HUD. The reason for that is I did have the Assetto Corsa HUD, or the Assetto Corsa Competizione HUD, and I broke it. I have no idea how I broke it. I clicked a button and it disappeared. I tried deleting the mod and reinstalling the mod, it was having none of it. So I downloaded a mod that was a little bit further down the page, and it was this mod, and to be fair it's actually really good. So everything you see is normal Gran Turismo 7 at the bottom. I don't know if you have on the left hand side at the bottom you have the tyres with a blue outline, that's showing the tyre temperatures. I don't know if that's normal on the GT7 or not, but I find it quite useful on here, especially when a set of course is quite sensitive to hot tyres. The radar system on the bottom right also works perfectly, and you do have the selections to go across. I've got it set up so I can adjust my brake bias, brake ABS, which you don't get on touring cars, power, which you can't also adjust on touring cars, and I think that was it. Also on the right hand side just below the map we also have a lap timer. I want to know how consistent I am being through each lap. That is also brilliant. And on the left hand side I have my position I am throughout the race. That only changes as you cross over the start and finish line. So although it's there labelled up, you could overtake 4 cars, it won't tell you you've overtaken 4 cars until you cross the line. So it updates once per lap. Absolutely brilliant. So 10 seconds to race start. We have the person to our right upside down, and let's get ready to go. All green, revs up, and gear. I was expecting green lights, there was no green lights. I go straight to second gear to reduce the wheel spin and start trying to catch up to the pack in front. Now bear in mind I started warming up to this lap after qualifying, but I'm still a little bit cautious. Braking on here, you have to be very careful of your brakes. Don't apply too much brakes, you will lock up, thus going straight on instead of turning in the direction you want to turn. Roughly it's about 60 to 70% brake and you're on a fine line of locking up. And whilst you're braking, you also got to bear in mind the brakes will warm up, thus more friction, and then you would lock up again. So it's a case of putting on the brake and letting it off a little bit by little bit and having the vehicle under control really. Of course it's a lot easier said than done, coming from Forza where you could just go into a corner flat out, stamp on your brake pedal and it will turn. Here you got to plan your braking and adjust your braking whilst you're slowing down, or if you want to trail brake into a corner. So I really enjoy the little technical side of it for things like that, and like I say, there's a huge learning curve. As you can see I'm getting undertaken on the car on the inside, which pushed me to the outside and I bottled this corner. I then come back off the track and hit a car coming up my inside. Now, I did my best to try and avoid that situation. If we rewind back in time and look at what happened, I can then explain to you I did try and correct my ways. As we watch the screen, we're going to zoom in to where my speedo is. You see that little red dot in the middle? That's my steering wheel position. And I'm sliding back on the track. I'm pulling that wheel over to the left hand side as much as I can to try and keep the car off the track, because it's my responsibility to, when I rejoin the track, that I rejoin safely, and the car was out of control. There's nothing I could have done to prevent that, but I can only apologize to the person I hit. You can see it was not intentional for me to come back onto the track. The car was just going the way it wanted to go, and I can only feel bad for the person that I literally just destroyed on the track. So we have some time to make back up, trying to catch up the pack, all the places I've just managed to lose. But you live and learn, and I should have taken that corner a bit slower, being on the outside and not on the optimal line. Lesson learned on my part. But this is my first ever race on here. Skipping ahead, I come round towards the start and finish line, and I decide to come off track. Now this is how you rejoin the track. I've gone straight off here, slid right off. I see there's cars coming up behind me on my radar. I stay on the grass, looking at the map, looking at where it's safe to come back on, and I'm watching where these cars are going. They're staying to the right hand side. It gives me an opportunity to move back on the track and stay to the left hand side, doing my best not to impede them. Whilst now they're in front of me, I got someone to follow, learn the track with, and try and keep up with the cars in front. Braking down to second gear and taking up the inside line. The Vectra, I don't know what happened there, but I don't want to be in any shenanigans with them, so I brake. I let them try and get back into position. Coming down here, you could do this turn in third gear, but obviously we're going very slow at the minute, so I was down in second gear. Braking at the 100 board on the right hand side, down to third gear. As you come round, down to second gear and power up through this hill bit here. You need to go down to second to get the revs up and be in your power band to get up the hill. Skipping ahead to lap 10, this is going to be my fastest lap on the track, so it's better to explain to you when I'm actually in a position to explain where is the best braking points and acceleration points. As we come over here in third gear, looking left hand side, you see where the curb is about to end now. This is your braking point. Go down to second gear and coast the car into the apex and power back on as soon as you're halfway around the corner. Come back over to your right hand side at the 100 board, brake in, keep it in third gear, rub the inner apex and over to the outer curb. You do have a lot of track limits. I was just going a bit slow through that corner there. Braking again at the 100 board, down to third, let it coast for a little bit and then bring it into second gear about 60 miles per hour and accelerate up this hill. About 60 to 63 miles per hour is a good sweet spot. Any more than that, I seem to go off track a little bit. It's quite a weird angle and bank. We're down here as fast as you can, looking up for the 200 board. Braking down to fourth gear, you want to take it down to about 93 miles per hour and coast through the turn. When we're down to the next 100 board, braking down to third gear, over the curbs and bring it over. You're looking at about 80 miles an hour through there, the 85. Keeping in fourth gear here, the 100 board, over this curb, and you can really abuse that because you've got a nice little clean bit of track. Down the 100 board, down to third gear, an apex and accelerate as soon as you come out the corner and use the dip to help you accelerate. Come look in the left hand side when the track opens up just there, braking down to third gear, over the curb. Don't go over that curb too far. I have gone onto two wheels many times. It really just throw you off. And we crossed the line with a 138.5. Now I want to see, like I said, my track consistency and my lap time consistency isn't too bad overall. I'm within the 140s, bar a few attempts each side. Not much has happened further on, so we're just going to skip forward to our final lap. As you can see now, my lap times have improved from lap 10 to lap 18. I have been doing between 138 and 139s. There's the odd 140, but that's usually when there's shenanigans on the track. A car's messed up somewhere or something like that I've got to slow down and avoid, and of course as a second or a few tenths of a second each time. But gaining 2 seconds a lap for your latter half of the race is quite substantial and quite an improvement. But like I say, I've been pretty much lonely throughout the race. Everybody seems to get into their position and it's pretty comfortable. I do have a car behind me. I just got to try and keep at bay and don't mess up. We are in P8 position, which is quite strong and I'm pretty happy with. There's a car just gone off track there. That might be P7. They're still green on the map. Anybody that's blue on the map is a case of you're going to lap them. They're on a blue flag and they've got to move out the way for you, if I understand the blue flag correctly. So coming down here, you see I'm getting much better pace. The tyres are worn. I'm taking things a bit more cautiously. Another person off the track there. I think that's the blue flagged car, yep. And coming around here, third gear, powering on. Like I say, the tyres are wearing. It is very noticeable that the tyres are wearing. So I'm just a bit nervous about the car behind me, checking the position. I don't want them to try and make a move. I will try and block. But overall, I think we're winning this race in P7 position, which is not bad considering it was about a 30-minute race. So it is quite intense. 30 minutes of trying your best to make sure you don't mess up and go off track. It's detrimental. But we're going to move forward to the next race. We're back at Brands Hatch again. This is a weekly event, and I want to see if I can do better than the last time. We qualified. I'm in P8 position for qualifying, which is quite strong. We're pretty pleased with. The Honda in front forgets that the light's gone green, so they're staying there by the looks of it. A Renault Laguna comes out of the pits. I've never started in the pits, so I don't know. If you could, I was quite shocked at them coming out of the pits. As we're tucking behind Renoir in the, well, it's obvious what car it is, but for, I think it's copyright reasons, the names have changed. Pretty obvious. We did get a little bit of a push from the Peugeot behind. I think there's a bit of unpredictability on both our parts. The Peugeot does have a better exit of that corner, so I let them have that position. I'm not going to fight for something when I'm not as skilled as, let's say, as other people on here. But that Peugeot does sound great. Absolutely got a great soundtrack to it. So we are catching up. I do let off and try and let the Peugeot stay in front. Okay, braking down to 4th gear, about 90 miles per hour, and run over to the left hand side. Looking out for the 100 board, and you're braking down to 3rd gear. Rub the inner apex and go over to the outside, and then try and stay a bit more central here to the left hand side-ish. As you see the 100 board, brake in, just leave it in 4th gear, over the curb, just like that, and you can really abuse that little corner there, and you don't get dirty tyres or nothing. Again, here my tyres lock up, but I have changed the volume of the tyres so I can hear them much better. Before they were quite low. Now I've turned the engine volume down and turned the tyre volume right up. Because listening up to the tyres is really crucial in this kind of race, where you don't want to lock up your wheels or skid your tyres too much, and you also got to keep an eye on the temperature of your wheels. We're braking it down to 3rd gear. There's a big brake sign on the left hand side. And rub the inner apex and come over to the outside. You've really got to try and get that inner apex, else you will slide straight off the track. Again, braking down to 2nd gear, clip the apex on the way in, power on the way out. Come back over to your right hand side, look out for the 100 board, a brake in, leave it in 3rd gear, coast over the curb and over to the outer curb here. As you can see, this braking is not a strong point for me at the minute, and this is what's costing me a few attempts on each corner. Everybody else seems to come out the corners much quicker than me as well, because I'm carrying too much speed and not enough confidence in my braking as I enter the corner. So, I say improvements there need to be made. Braking at the 100 board down to 4th gear, locking up again, and coming over about 90 miles per hour. Looking at the 100 board, braking down the 3rd, clip the apex, and go straight over. I am making gains on the car in front. I'm keeping up to an extent, but I think I might be a little bit quicker than the Renault in some of the corners, or I'm applying pressure and they're pulling back to try and not let me overwhelm them, like sometimes you can get where someone's right behind you and you push yourself a bit harder to get away. That's the wrong way of going. But you see I'm up 2 wheels, and that's what I mean about clipping that in the curb. You want to stay well away from that. Absolutely crap myself. I was like there is a clip in the 90s of a Mondi doing that in the BTCC. It was up on 2 wheels, just like I did then. I wish the replay worked. I saved the replay, and for some reason Content Manager corrupted the replay. I'm not too sure why, but we're going to skip ahead forward now and come up to the first incident that we're going to find here. Come around this corner here, the Renault slides off the track. I go off out the way, and going out the way made me go off track as well. I should have slowed down, but as you can see, I've got a good bit of space around me. Nobody's behind besides the Renault themselves, so luckily enough for this incident I didn't take anybody else with me, but I saw the Renault go in and I should have slowed down. I should have known better for that one. I was not expecting them to stay in the middle of the track, and as I went over to the right hand side I saw their front end coming back around towards me, so I took the right hand turn more than I should have, and I overcompensated thus. making me go off the track. As you see, we have skipped ahead forward. We skipped about 10 to 12 minutes. There was literally nothing happened for 10 or 12 minutes except for me being on my own, making sure that P5 position doesn't catch up to me, and I've kept the same kind of gap, but I've not been able to catch the cars in front. What I am catching is the people that's in front that I'm about to lap. So the car in front I'm going to lap, and the car in front of that I'm going to lap. The Peugeot goes off track, comes back on, and this is where the poor Peugeot was put in a situation of what do I do? You can see, because they've rejoined the track and got to be mindful of the vehicle behind them, as well as they're on a blue flag because I'm coming past. So they were put into the middle, slower than the Vectra I just overtaken, and much slower than me. So they stayed lucky enough to stay in the middle. You can imagine the dilemma going through their mind, like, oh, where do I go? So that was quite entertaining, really. But as you can see, the lap times, I've taken away the lap times on the board on the right hand side because I found it a little bit distracting. And at the bottom left of the screen, you'll see my accelerator and brake and clutch and force feedback settings. So we've had a little bit of a change around on the screen, and I also have a rear view mirror. So now I have 3 points of visual contact to understand where the cars are around me. Also, I added the brake, accelerator and clutch on the bottom left of the screen because some of the cars I have driven are white. With the Gran Turismo HUD, when you have a white bonnet, you can't see where you're accelerating or braking. You can only see the speedo and things like that. So having it a second point that is colourful and with a greyish background makes it a lot more obvious for me, so I can feel and then look at the screen how much brake pressure I'm applying. As you can see, I'm becoming far more consistent with the laps, and that's what you need. Be far more consistent with each lap you take. Coming over here, 4th gear, rubbing that curb, and coming back to your right hand side and braking down to 3rd gear. Over the curb and far away, you put your foot down, and away we go. Right now I'm in position 4, and I'm doing my best to hold it. P5 is quite a bit of distance behind me, which I'm pretty fond of for obvious reasons, just in case I do have a little incident. But I'm also looking at my tyres, and I'm wearing my tyres more than I have done on a previous race, so I'm obviously quicker, or I'm skidding them a lot more than I should be. But again, we're looking at left hand side, braking here, down to 2nd gear, and rub that inner apex, power back on out the other side. I say it's not helpful to wheel spin your tyres as you're coming out the corner. You don't want them getting hot, because when they're hot they're absolutely useless. So you've got to be mindful of tyre temperature on here, very mindful. Braking down to 3rd gear, down to 2nd gear, let it coast around 60 miles per hour, power back on for the hill, and then up to 3rd gear. You want to keep in that power band as you climb that bit of hill. But now we're coming down the straight here, we're going to see a little bit of a yellow flag. This yellow flag is going to give us a warning that for some reason I couldn't understand where this yellow flag was on the map, because the whole map lights up, which is quite inconvenient to an extent. But lucky enough, as we come around this corner here, we do see a puff of smoke as the car has gone off track, and luckily enough it's not too much of an issue. To join the track again, move over to the right hand side, I go to the left hand side. I think they was unsure on the position I was going to take, but I would rather take the inside line of the next corner and force them to have the slower outside line than me have the outside line and then potentially have another accident. As you're coming through over the start and finish line, that's obviously another person I have lapped. And this is what I like about this. The race is so long and everybody's so considerate that you do end up lapping slow vehicles, and they are considerate when you are lapping them. As well as you've also got to be mindful of their position on the road as well. It's your job to know if you're going to overtake that, you're going to overtake that vehicle safely. What I have noticed, I am 34.8 seconds away from the leading car in this race. Now considering that I'm 22 minutes deep into this race, that's not bad going, because obviously they're much better than I am. But being 34 seconds after 20 minutes of this is not bad overall, really. And being in P4, having a huge gap from P5 position, shows that my consistency is paying off, and obviously over time the better I get, the more consistent I get, and the more I can improve. Thus that's reducing the time. the consistency here is massively key to being able to try and keep your lap time. It's not about, well, it is about being the fastest, but being consistent at the same time as well. Yellow flag is up again, so what we got here? From around this corner here, there's a car rejoining the track, and we just about miss him. How close was that? How close was that? Going around that corner and then slowly rejoining at a snail's pace. I bet they must have crapped themselves. See me come around and how close I was to that bumper, because I almost crapped myself. Oh dear, that was awfully too close. Well, here's our final lap. Final lap of the race. I managed to keep P4 position. I am again further away from P5 than I was when I last. There they are, just coming over the top there. Tyres are pretty worn. They're getting a bit tired and had enough of me driving them. So as we look out for the right hand side, looking out for the 100 board, braking down to third gear, down to second gear, let it coast round, and as soon as you come over that line there, power on for the hill. Into third gear, and away we go. This race has been absolutely wonderful, and I've been very lucky to have P4 position and keep P4 position. That's very lucky for me. As we come around here, about 90 miles per hour, I'll take it a little bit slower. Like I say, the tyres are worn. The 100 marker has gone missing. Someone's taken it home as a trophy. So it's a case of guessing where the 100 marker is, but you get used to it. Over the curb and back to the right hand side for the 100 board. That's still there though. Down to third gear, rub it over and power on for the back part of the track. Looking out for where the track opens on your left hand side. I'm just braking just before it, down to third gear. Don't clip that in the curb. You saw me nearly fall over. And we crossed the finish line. P4 position. Anyway, if you enjoyed this content here, enjoyed the 90s BTCC, early 2000s, let me know in the comments down below if you want to see more of this. And thank you all for watching. See you all next time.